This is Calamagrostis, acutiflora Karl Foerster, feather reedgrass. And it's a really nice perennial grass, has a very strong kind of architecture or habit to it. And what I really like about this plant are the flower heads and how strong of a statement they make. There's 3 of these plants, but really 2 of them are doing all the work that you're looking at. And those flower stalks are about 6 feet tall. The grassy portion of the plant is kind of a sidebar almost. It's not as important visually as the flower heads. And that's about 3 feet tall, most of the foliage. This is a nice way to use these. You see there's a wall behind there, and these function kind of as a semi-visual barrier. Yes, you can see through them, but your eye stops on the grass itself, and you really get to appreciate those flowers, and especially as they move in the wind. There's just a little bit of a breeze, but because they're so long and slender, you get some nice movement out of them as well. And the amber tone of the dry seed heads is really nice too. It's a nice contrast with the green of the foliage. Now, size-wise, I mentioned that they get about 6 feet tall, and the clump itself looks to be about 24 inches in diameter. So spacing, I'd say give these 24 inches. This is a more mature clump, and you can tell, like many of the grasses that don't spread by runners that are more of a clumper, the clump still divides and gets larger over time if the plant is happy, which is what these have done. This looks like it's been in a few years. I don't believe these are cold hardy. I'm not sure, to be honest. So if you're in coastal areas, I think these are cold hardy, but if you're in a winter area where you get down to freezing, you can probably assume that the grass itself is dormant during the winter and then comes back. This is in an area that's a dry inland valley, and it gets down in the mid-20s, and this clump is certainly a few years old, and these are doing just fine. So they do come back, but like many of the grasses, they sleep during the winter, and you want to cut those back until they come back. So as a design element, I think they're great in kind of a narrow area and use them as a tall accent. I also like using these as a background plant where you've got other more evergreen things in front of them. That way you get the beauty of the flower heads, but you don't end up in the winter looking at an otherwise bare area. So that's a way to use them, as well as maybe put something in front of them that's around 18 inches tall, so you still see the grassy portion sticking up in the back, and then you certainly see the flower heads sticking up. And these are deer tolerant, and I would say they need regular water to look their best. These are next to a little lawn area, and they're looking real happy. I've seen these in drier areas, and they didn't look near as good as this, so I'd say regular garden water is probably a good idea. And that's Karl Foerster feather reedgrass.